So here's today's little chat. Now, those of you who know me well know I don't use scripts because a script really, like, some script writer writes it for you, a speech writer. No one speaks from their heart. With a script, you never score an own goal. If you've got to be genuine, if you want to be genuine and say it how it really is, you don't use a script. But today, I've got a couple of pages in front of me, and the reason they're there is because there's some data coming to hand about Three Waters that I need to have the exact figures on. So if you just bear with me, I just want to have a wee rant first about something that the government said today about this new border, phased-in border control, the leaking of the incoming border, the workforce, if you like, the people we've been deprived of from 2 years in hospitality, and the phases. So I'm sure you all know this, but the median wage in New Zealand is $27. So the first phase of borders reopening means that people can come in if they're about 1.5 times the median wage, so you're on $40 plus an hour. Now that's, in hospitality, that's kind of like about maybe 10 to 15% of our workforce. Obviously high profile chefs, sous chefs, some specialist chefs like pastry chefs, senior management, some security, administration, payroll, that sort of thing. But about probably 80% of a normal hospital outlet would fall below that. So the government is yet again depriving the hospitality sector of a workforce that can keep prices down. So just in this last short period, since the first lockdown in 2 years, and by the way, just a wee comment here, I'm not wearing glasses today because one or two people commented on the fact that I wear shades too often. The reason is, for your information, I've had the lenses replaced in my eyes. So I had a surgery, both eyes, and it's not like a cataract surgery where they laser it. They actually do invasive surgery and they take the old lenses out, they leave the lens capsule in and they put a new acrylic lens in. But it means that even though I have perfect sight now for reading, perfect vision, I see a lot more white light than you do. So I don't wear shades to try and pretend I'm cool or anything like that. I wear them because I see so much white light. But out of respect to the people who said that I should take them off, I've sat myself in a wee shady corner here today in the gardens of my apartment where I live, and I'm speaking to you without shades on. And I'm also taking, you will have noticed, a slightly softer tone today because a couple of people complained about my alleged strident criticism and negativity of the comments I make. But I can only make informed comments, and the mere fact that 600,000 people have been reached on this Facebook page over the last week would suggest that a lot of people, in fact 1 in 8, 1 in 9 New Zealanders are listening to or viewing what I'm saying. So back to the subject. So $27 an hour is the median wage in New Zealand, and the government is saying $40 an hour is the trigger level for people to be allowed across the border into these sort of jobs. So they're giving us absolutely nothing there. Having said that, within a few months, if things go well, we could have reasonably open borders and we might get a whole lot of staff back. In the interim, if we don't, what $40 an hour means for you as a consumer, that means that the government is pouring petrol on the fires of inflation. Because if I've got to pay people just your average random $40 an hour to work around a hospo outlet, that means that the coffee that was $4.50 yesterday has to be $7 tomorrow. The Heineken that was $12 has to be $15 to $16. The nice cocktail that was $15 becomes $20. The fish and chips, and that's you, Jacinda, I'm talking to right there, fish and chips. The fish and chips that was $28 this week will be $40 next week, and the steak that was $40 will be $50, $55. So, and there's no possibility, despite what the government said and the Prime Minister said today, it's all about lifting the cost of wages and increasing productivity simultaneously. If anybody knows how to increase productivity in hospitality, can you please reach out to me and tell me? Because I'm firmly of the view that hospitality is not a place you can increase productivity. We can't have robots running your drinks out to you in the garden bar because they've got to negotiate the steps. We need real people, human beings, to do all that work. So how on earth the government can draw a line between pushing wage cost up by say 50% and increasing productivity simultaneously is beyond me. I think they might need to have a decent economist or get some decent economic advice at government. So if you're reading this, Grant Robertson, I've got a job for you, by the way. Reach out to me through Stu, one of my other mates, Damien O'Connor, Willie Jackson if you want to, and I'll help you understand how you can't increase productivity in the hospitality sector, so all you're doing is fueling inflation. Anyway, we're 4 minutes into today's sermon and I want to keep it brief. So I want to talk about Three Waters. Well, no, let me conclude and wrap that one first by saying, don't ever put the hospitality sector down, Jacinda, or the Labour government, or Tova O'Brien's lawyers. If you want to put us down, why don't we agree that I'll come and do your job for a day and you come and do ours. You come and cook a really nice piece of flash off in a pan, a piece of Patagonian toothfish, and serve it with the coconut broth. I'm happy for you to do that. Jacinda, you can be in charge of the deep fryer because you come with some expertise, as we all know, in the fish and chip department. Stu Nash, you can come and do the job. You can be in charge of security because everyone knows you like looking at yourself in a full-length mirror at the gym. Willie, I've had a few beers with you. You can be in charge of pouring pints. And Grant Robertson, can't quite think what I could do with you. What are you good at, Grunter? You wouldn't be that good on the tools. Don't really know. Maybe you can just sit around and do nothing and tell everyone else what to do. That's probably a good job for you. And I will come and take over your job. So I'll take over the work of the entire cabinet. That'll keep me busy till, say, lunchtime. You have to find something for me to do in the afternoon. I could probably clean some cars or something. Run Parliament a damn sight cheaper than what you lot do. But anyway, I'm going off on a divergent path again. I need to talk to you about Three Waters. This is the thing. So, and that's why I've got the notes in front of me. So there's three key players at Auckland Council in the Three Waters chapter as it unfolds. And the three key players are all tied to the Labour Party. So Phil Goff, Fesso Collins, and I like you, Fesso, you and I are going to do business together. And Richard Hills, Little Richard, we call him Little Phil around here. He thinks he's going to be a contender for the mayoralty. There's as much chance of you being a contender for the mayoralty as there is of me being heavyweight champion of the world, Little Richard, Little Phil. So let's agree on that. But those three are tied to the Labour Party, and of course you can't dissent when you're tied to the Labour Party, otherwise you get expelled from the party. So if central government says they're doing something and you have the audacity to resist at council level, at local government level, you get expelled from the party. So in other words, what central government decides, central government gets. So these three are of course bound by Nanaia Mahuta, her Three Waters policy, which is basically taking an $11 billion ratepayer-owned asset here in Auckland. And I'll just remind you, we've got $14 billion worth of debt here. Every single home, I was going to say house, but they're homes, not houses, in Auckland has $30,000 worth of debt that's been put on. You've become a liability for you as a homeowner by courtesy of this council's overspending. So 11 billion of that 14 billion is effectively water care. And when Nanaia Mahuta came and said to the City Council, we're taking those assets off you because Auckland's assets are not that bad. There's a little bit of work to be done in the pollution space, but it's Northland's assets that are the problem. So she's trying to bundle Auckland and Northland together to solve Northland's problem. But of course, Northland's problem is not Auckland's problem. Northland's problem is central government's problem. So it's a bit of it's stealth, it's deceit, and it's stealing ratepayers' assets. And I won't have a bar of that, not while I'm mayor. That's not going to happen. Those three Labour guys will be gone. Fesso might come back in as an independent under my wing, but the other two will be gone. And I'll be taking charge, and we'll be talking about these assets, and you won't be getting them under those terms and conditions, because the current terms and conditions, as agreed by Goff, who pretended to oppose initially, but then waved the white flag like Goff does. Not that he makes many appearances, but when he does, it's always with a white flag in hand. He's now agreed to sell the assets for 500 million, which is only 10,500 million under their book value. And what's more, because the council spending is out of control, it's 85 million over budget this year, and that doesn't include the targeted climate tax, which was already in the budget, but has been added on by Little Phil, Richard Hills, as a targeted climate tax for you, the ratepayers, for some notional conceptual idea that we can control climate change while China and India do whatever they want to with their coal supplies. But I'm digressing again, as I invariably do during one of these sermons. Getting back to Phil, so the budget's 85 million over, and Phil's decided to accept a $150 million payment, a deposit if you like, from the Nanaia Mahuta, sorry about getting tongue-tied there, Nanaia, and the Labour government, a $150 million deposit, which he can then use to offset the overspending that the council is guilty of this year. Now, I'm going to close this soon. By the way, Council went out to survey on 3rd to 19 December. I'm just reading from the notes now if you're wondering why I'm looking down. Backed up by a Kantar public poll at the same time, across about 3,000 people. 80% do not want that $11 billion asset, water care, to be handed in the control of central government. 83% want council control, and that's how it's going to work. It's going to stay in the hands and control of the government. So I read here, this is Phil. This is the mayor when you haven't got a mayor, who thinks he's a mayor, cardboard cutout Phil Goff. Independent polling shows strong backing for our stance, and I'll continue to communicate Aucklanders and councillors' concerns to government. Well, no, Phil. This week in the Herald, you're quoted this week as saying you can't wait for the $150 million deposit to cover your overspending. So don't lie to us, Phil. You can lie to your own councillors, you can lie to your own electorate, but don't lie to us, because you're under scrutiny now. You're under the microscope. You're under the blowtorch, Phil. The blowtorch known as Leo Molloy. And on that, I'll wrap this now and say, once and for all, you're going to be accountable, Phil. The City Council is going to be accountable. You're accountable to me, and you're accountable to the ratepayers. The ratepayers own the assets, the ratepayers fund you, and the ratepayers are entitled to have their say and have their opinion, and you're not going to sell assets out from under our feet. That's it. Over and out. Goodbye to you. Jacinda, I've got a job on the deep fryer. And don't forget, once again, Leo Molloy for mayor.